There is a version of your life where you never watch this video, where you scroll past it in the next 3 seconds and go back to sleep. And there is another version where you stay, and something inside you finally makes sense. I want you to notice something before I say another word. You did not click on this by accident. Out of every video on your screen right now, something pulled you toward the words "chosen one," and God is warning you before it's too late. And if you have felt, for years, like your life has been harder than it should be, like doors keep closing right when you almost reach them, like you are surrounded by people yet somehow completely alone in what you carry, then what I'm about to tell you is not a coincidence. It is a message, and I'm asking you, for the next few minutes, to give me your full attention, because there is a difference between hearing something and actually receiving it. And what you are about to hear was never meant for everyone. It was meant for the ones who are still awake enough to listen. For most of your life, you have probably felt like something was wrong with you. Not wrong in the sense of broken, but wrong in the sense of out of place. You watch other people move through life with an ease that never seemed to be offered to you. They fall into relationships without effort. They stumble into opportunities. They seem untouched by the storms that have knocked you down again and again. And in the quiet moments, late at night, when the noise of the day has finally gone silent, you have asked yourself the same question more times than you can count. Why does everything feel harder for me? Why does it feel like I'm always being tested, always being stretched, always being asked to carry more than anyone around me can see? I need you to understand something right now, and I need you to let it sit with you instead of rushing past it. That feeling is not a curse. It is a signature. It is the mark of someone who was never meant to live an ordinary, unnoticed life, and deep down, you already know this, even if you have spent years trying to talk yourself out of it. Stay with me here, because this next part is the part most people never get told, and it is the part that changes everything once you understand it. Being chosen was never about comfort. Every story of someone who was called for something greater begins the same way, not with ease, but with resistance. The very things that have made your life feel impossible, the isolation, the setbacks, the people who left, the doors that slammed shut right when you thought you had finally made it, those were never signs that you were forgotten. They were the process of being prepared. Nothing valuable is built quickly, and nothing eternal is built without pressure. You do not carve a diamond with a soft touch, and you do not build a person who can carry weight without first making them lift something heavy. So if your life has felt like a series of trials, one after another, without a break, without relief, without anyone truly understanding what you have been through, I want you to consider the possibility that you were never being punished. You were being shaped. Now, before I go further, I want to walk you through the actual signs, the ones that most people carry their entire lives without ever recognizing them for what they are. Because this is not vague spiritual talk meant to make you feel special for 5 minutes and then disappear. These are real patterns, and if even 3 or 4 of them describe you, I need you to keep watching, because what comes after this list is the warning the title of this video is talking about, and it is more urgent than you think. The first sign is unexplained loneliness, even in a room full of people. You can be surrounded by family, by co-workers, by people who claim to love you, and still feel like no one actually sees you. This is not because something is wrong with your ability to connect. It is because part of you has always known that your path is not the same as theirs, and something in your spirit refuses to fully settle into a life that was never meant to be yours. People who are called towards something greater often spend years feeling like outsiders before they understand why. The loneliness is not rejection, it is separation, and separation, uncomfortable as it is often the first step before elevation. The second sign is the pattern of being tested right before a breakthrough. Have you ever noticed that just as things start to look like they might finally work out, something falls apart? A relationship ends right before a new opportunity. Money gets tight right before a door of provision opens. Your health takes a hit right before you're supposed to walk into something new. This is not bad luck. This is a filter. It exists to remove people who are not serious, who are not ready, who would take the blessing and forget where it came from. If you have survived this pattern more than once, if you have been knocked down right at the edge of your breakthrough and still gotten back up, that is not weakness. That is proof that you were built to endure what most people would have walked away from. The third sign is a restlessness that never fully goes away, no matter how much you achieve. You can hit a goal, get the job, buy the house, reach the milestone everyone told you would finally make you happy, and still feel like something is missing. This restlessness is not depression, and it is not ingratitude. It is your spirit refusing to let you settle for less than what you were actually made for. Ordinary lives can be satisfied with ordinary achievements. But if you were made for something greater, your soul will keep pushing you forward, no matter how much the world tells you that you should already be content. That discomfort is not your enemy, it is your compass. The fourth sign is the strange, undeniable feeling that you are being prepared for something you cannot yet see. Maybe you have felt pulled toward learning things that seem to have no immediate use. Maybe you have felt drawn to certain people, certain places, certain situations with no logical explanation, only a quiet inner pull that you could not ignore even if you tried. Maybe you have gone through experiences so specific, so unlikely, that you cannot fully explain them by chance. This is not your imagination. Purpose often arrives in pieces long before it arrives in full clarity, and if you look back over your life honestly, you will likely see a thread connecting things that seemed random at the time, but were never random at all. The fifth sign is the weight of carrying other people's pain as if it were your own. If you have always been the one people come to in their darkest moments, the one who somehow knows what to say when no one else does, the one who feels the emotions of a room before anyone speaks a word, this sensitivity was never a flaw to be fixed. It is a tool. People who are called to lead, to heal, to guide others through their own darkness, are often given the ability to feel deeply long before they are given the platform to use it. If this describes you, you know that the depth of what you feel is not too much. It is exactly the amount required for what you were made to do. The sixth sign is a strange sensitivity to timing, an inner alarm that goes off when something is not right, even when everything on the surface looks fine. Maybe you have walked away from opportunities everyone else told you to take, only to watch, months later, those same opportunities fall apart for the people who stayed. Maybe you have felt an unexplainable pull to leave a place, end a relationship, or change direction long before you had any logical reason to justify it, and time eventually proved that instinct right. This is not superstition, and it is not overthinking. It is discernment, and discernment is rarely given to people who have nothing important to protect. If your intuition has guided you away from danger more times than coincidence could reasonably explain, that protection was never random. It was intentional. And the seventh sign, the one that ties everything else together, is this. You have survived things that should have destroyed you. Moments where you did not know how you were going to keep going, where the weight felt unbearable, where you laid awake wondering if you had anything left to give, and yet here you are. Still breathing, still standing, still watching this video instead of having given up entirely. That is not an accident. Something has been protecting you this entire time, even in the moments you felt completely alone. And the fact that you made it to this exact point, hearing these exact words, is not random. It is timing. And timing is where the warning begins. I need you to lean in now, because this is the part of the video that gives it its title. And if you have made it this far, I do not believe you were meant to miss what comes next. Being chosen is not a permanent guarantee, it is an invitation. And every invitation has a window. Throughout every story of people who are called towards something greater, there is a common and sobering pattern. The call comes, and it is followed by a choice, and that choice does not stay open forever. There is a moment, often quiet, often easy to miss, when the door begins to close, not because the calling was withdrawn, but because it was ignored one too many times. This is the warning, not a threat, not punishment, but a truth that most people never hear clearly enough to act on until it is too late. You are being given signs right now, in this season of your life, and the way you respond to them determines whether this door stays open or whether it quietly shuts. While you are busy telling yourself you will deal with it later. Think about how many times in your life you have felt a nudge, an unmistakable pull toward change, toward growth, toward finally doing the thing you have been putting off. And you talked yourself out of it. You told yourself you would start next month. You told yourself you needed more money first, more time first, more certainty first. You waited for the fear to go away before you acted, not realizing that the fear was never going to leave on its own, that courage was always going to be required before clarity arrived, not after. Every time you ignore the nudge, it gets quieter. Not because it stops caring about you, but because you stop listening, and eventually, if it is ignored long enough, people stop hearing it altogether. They live out the rest of their days in a kind of comfortable numbness, wondering, in their final years, what could have been if only they had answered when they were still being called. This is the warning hidden inside the phrase before it's too late. It does not mean that time is a punishment waiting to strike you down. It means that opportunity, real, aligned, purposeful opportunity, has a season, and seasons pass. The soil that is fertile today will not stay fertile forever. The doors that are open to you right now, in this exact chapter of your life, will not remain open indefinitely, while you wait for the perfect moment that will never come. I have watched people wait so long for certainty that by the time they finally decided to move, the window had already closed, and they spent the rest of their lives calling it bad luck instead of recognizing it for what it actually was, which was hesitation dressed up as caution. Let me tell you about two kinds of people, because I think you will recognize yourself in one of them. The first person feels the call and waits. They wait for more proof, more permission, more certainty. They tell themselves they are being wise, being careful, being responsible. But the truth is that they are afraid. And fear disguised as patience will keep a person standing at the exact same door for years, sometimes for an entire lifetime. Eventually, the door does not slam shut dramatically, it simply fades. The urgency they once felt turns into a distant memory, something they used to feel strongly about before life got busy and responsibilities took over. They grow old having never taken the risk, and in their final chapter, when they are finally honest with themselves, the deepest regret is never the risks they took and failed. It is the calling they felt and never answered. The second person feels the exact same fear, the exact same uncertainty, the exact same lack of guarantees, but they move anyway. Not because they are fearless, no one who has ever done anything meaningful was fearless, but because they understood something the first person never grasped. Clarity is not the reward for waiting. Clarity is the reward for moving. You do not get to see the whole staircase before you take the first step. You are only shown enough light for the step directly in front of you, and the only way to see the next one is to trust that light enough to actually move your foot. The people who answer their calling are not the ones who had it all figured out. They are simply the ones who decided that the discomfort of moving forward was worth more than the regret of staying still. Picture two people standing at the edge of the same field, both of them holding a single seed. Both of them told the exact same thing: plant this now, and by the time the season changes, you will have something that can feed you for the rest of your life. The first person looks at the sky and worries it might rain too hard. They look at the ground and worry it might not be fertile enough. They look at their own hands and worry they might not know how to plant it correctly. So they hold the seed a little longer, telling themselves they are simply being careful, and one day turns into 1 week. 1 week turns into 1 season, and by the time they finally convince themselves to plant it, the ground has hardened, the window has passed, and the seed that once held so much potential sits buried too late in soil that is no longer ready to receive it. The second person looks at the exact same sky, feels the exact same fear, has the exact same uncertainty about whether they are doing it right, and plants the seed anyway, right there in that same imperfect moment, without waiting for the doubt to disappear first. Months later, while the first person is still explaining to themselves why the timing never quite felt right, the second person is standing in front of something that grew because they were willing to begin before they felt ready. The seed was the same. The field was the same. The only difference was the moment they decided to stop waiting for certainty and start trusting the process instead. I want you to ask yourself honestly right now, without performing an answer for anyone, which of these two people you have been for the last several years of your life. Have you been standing at the same door, telling yourself, you're almost ready, almost certain enough, almost brave enough? Or have you been moving, imperfectly, afraid, but moving anyway? There is no shame in admitting you have been the first person. Almost everyone has been that person at some point, but there is a difference between having been that person and choosing to stay that person. And this moment, right here, Watching this video, hearing these exact words, might be the nudge you have been waiting for permission to finally listen to. Stay with me, because I want to be very clear about something before I go further. This warning is not meant to frighten you into anxiety, or to make you feel like you are constantly one wrong move away from losing everything. That kind of fear is not from a place of truth, and it is not what this message is about. The warning is not that God is angry with you, or eager to punish you for hesitating. The warning is that time itself moves forward, whether you use it or not. And the specific opportunities aligned with this exact season of your life are tied to this exact season, not to some indefinite future version of it. This is not about fear. It is about urgency, and there is a profound difference between the two. Fear paralyzes you, urgency moves you. And the entire purpose of this message is to move you, not to freeze you in place. There is one more thing I need to warn you about, because it is quieter and more dangerous than fear. And it convinces far more people to give up than fear ever could. It is comfort. Fear announces itself loudly. You feel it in your chest. You recognize it. And because you recognize it, you can eventually push through it. Comfort does not announce itself at all. It arrives softly, disguised as peace, whispering that you have already done enough, that you deserve to rest now, that the calling you once felt so strongly was probably just a phase of youthful ambition that faded the way most things fade with time. Comfort does not ask you to abandon your purpose in one dramatic decision. It asks you to postpone it by one day, and then another day, and then another, until years have passed, and you cannot even remember exactly when you stopped moving toward it. This is how doors close for most people, not through some catastrophic failure, but through a slow, comfortable drift away from the very thing they once felt called to become. If you have felt that drift happening in your own life recently, that quiet settling into a smaller version of what you know you are capable of, let this be the moment you recognize it for what it is and refuse to let it finish the job. So let me ask you something directly. What is the thing you have been putting off? What is the dream, the change, the conversation, the decision that you have felt pulling at you for months, maybe years, that you keep pushing to the back of your mind because it feels too big, too uncertain, too far outside of what feels safe? I want you to actually sit with that question instead of letting it pass by like background noise, because that thing, whatever it is very likely connected to exactly what this video has been describing. It is the door. It is the invitation. And the way you respond to it, starting today, is going to matter more than you currently understand. Here's what I need you to hear now, because this is where the message shifts from warning into instruction, from urgency into direction. If everything I have described has resonated with you, if you have recognized yourself in the loneliness, the testing, the restlessness, the sensitivity, the survival, and now in the warning about time, then the next part of your life depends on what you choose to do differently, starting today, not next month, not when things calm down, not when you finally feel ready. Because readiness is not a feeling that arrives before action. It is a strength that is built by taking action before you feel ready at all. The first thing you need to do is stop waiting for the noise around you to validate what you already feel inside. Most people who are called towards something greater spend years seeking permission from people who were never equipped to understand their path in the first place. You will not find confirmation from everyone around you, because most people are living lives shaped by comfort and routine, and anything that threatens the illusion of safety will be met with resistance, even from people who love you. Their doubt is not proof that you are wrong. It is often proof that you are finally stepping outside of what they understand. The second thing you need to do is create space for stillness. This might sound simple, almost too simple to matter. But the truth is that most people never hear the clearest instructions for their life because they never stop moving long enough to listen. The constant noise of scrolling, distraction, obligation, and busyness has trained an entire generation to be uncomfortable with silence. And yet, silence is exactly where clarity lives. Give yourself even 10 minutes a day where you are not consuming anything, not performing anything, not distracting yourself from anything. Just quiet, just presence, just the willingness to listen to whatever rises up when the noise finally stops. You will be surprised how much guidance has been waiting for you the entire time, buried underneath everything you have used to avoid sitting still. The third thing you need to do is take the smallest possible next step, today, not tomorrow. Purpose is rarely revealed all at once. It is revealed one obedient step at a time. You do not need to know the entire plan before you begin. You only need to take the step that is directly in front of you right now, whatever that is. Maybe it is a conversation you have been avoiding. Maybe it is an application you have been too afraid to submit. Maybe it is simply admitting to yourself, honestly, what you actually want instead of what you have settled for. Whatever that step is, take it today. Because the version of you who keeps waiting for the whole staircase to appear before moving will still be standing in the exact same place a year from now. The fourth thing you need to do is release the specific outcome you think you're supposed to have. So much of the frustration people carry comes from trying to force their calling into a shape they decided on years ago, instead of allowing it to unfold in the way it was actually designed to. You may be preparing for something completely different than what you currently imagine, and holding too tightly to a fixed picture of what your future should look like can actually blind you to the real opportunity standing right in front of you. Trust does not mean passivity. It means moving forward with everything you have while holding the outcome with open hands instead of a closed fist. And the fifth thing, the one that ties everything together, is gratitude for exactly where you are right now, even in the difficulty, even in the uncertainty, even in the waiting. Gratitude is not denial of your pain. It is the decision to trust that the difficulty you are walking through right now is not the end of your story, but a necessary chapter within it. The people who make it through their seasons of testing are rarely the ones who complained the loudest about how unfair it was. They are the ones who kept showing up, kept believing, kept moving forward one faithful step at a time, even when nothing around them confirmed that it would ever make sense. I also want to say something to you about the people who will not understand this shift in you, because there will be some. When you finally decide to stop waiting and start moving, not everyone around you will celebrate it. Some people are comfortable with the version of you that stayed small, that stayed quiet, that stayed exactly where they could always predict you would be. Growth has a way of exposing who was actually rooting for you and who simply preferred the safety of your stagnation. This is not something to fear, it is something to expect. And it is not a reason to shrink back down to a size that makes other people comfortable. The calling on your life was never a group decision, and it was never going to require unanimous approval before it was allowed to unfold. You are not responsible for making everyone understand the path you are walking. You are only responsible for walking it faithfully, one step at a time, regardless of who claps and who stays silent. I want you to think back to the very beginning of this video, to the moment you clicked on it instead of scrolling past. I told you that was not an accident, and I meant it. Everything you have felt while listening to this, every moment where something inside you quietly whispered, "That's me, that's my life, that's exactly what I've been going through," was not a coincidence either. You were meant to hear this, not because you are more important than anyone else, but because you are exactly where you need to be at exactly the right time, with exactly the right amount of awareness required to finally do something about it. The title of this video says God is warning you before it's too late, and I want to leave you with the true meaning behind those words, because I do not want you to walk away from this feeling afraid. The warning is not a threat hanging over your head. It is an act of mercy. It is being given to you now, in this moment, because there is still time to respond. If it were truly too late, you would not be feeling this pull. You would not have clicked on this video. You would not have stayed until this very sentence. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still feeling something stir inside you as these words are spoken, is proof that the window has not closed. It is still open, but it will not stay open forever, simply because you have been given proof that it is real. So here's what I'm asking you to do right now. Before you close this video and let the moments slip away into the same busy, distracted life you have been living, make a decision. Not a vague someday decision, but a real one. Decide today that you are done waiting for certainty before you move. Decide that the nudges you have been ignoring deserve your attention. Decide that the calling you have felt your entire life, the one that has made you feel different, isolated, tested, and restless, was never a mistake. It was preparation. And preparation only matters if it is followed by action. If this message found you today, if something in these words felt like it was speaking directly into the parts of your life no one else has been able to see, do not let this be another video you watch and forget by tomorrow morning. Let it be the moment you finally stopped waiting. Let it be the line between the person who kept standing at the door and the person who finally walked through it. You were not chosen to live a small, unnoticed, hesitant life. You were chosen to answer, and the time to answer is not someday. It is now. While the door is still open, while the warning is still a mercy and not a memory, while you still have the chance to become everything you were quietly, patiently, painfully being prepared for. Do not let this be the moment you almost listened. Let it be the moment everything finally changed.